The documentary chronicles the tragic events of October 21, 2021 on the set of the Western film Rust in New Mexico, where cinematographer Halyna Hutchins was fatally shot and director Joel Souza was injured by a live round fired from a prop gun held by actor and producer Alec Baldwin. The film opens with the chaotic emergency response to the shooting, featuring recordings of the 911 call reporting 2 people accidentally shot on set, identifying the actor as Alec Baldwin. Subsequent police body cam and interview footage establishes the initial shock and confusion on the scene. Souza is noted to be doing okay, but Hutchins is described as having been shot in the chest with a bullet passing through her body, suggesting a life-threatening injury. The film crew, including the distraught armorer Halyna Gutierrez Reed, is gathered by police to secure the crime scene and collect evidence. News coverage soon confirms Hutchins' death and Souza's hospitalization, framing the event as a tragedy that rocked the film industry. The documentary pivots to a personal perspective as filmmaker Rachel Mason, a friend of Halyna Hutchins, explains how she initially set out to make a film about Halyna's life after her husband Matt requested it. However, Mason realizes she can only honor Halyna by understanding the circumstances of her death. The narrative backtracks to the conception of Rust. Screenwriter and producer Lucas Foster recounts how a conversation led to Alec Baldwin choosing a Western despite it being a low-budget independent film. Halyna Hutchins was hired as the director of photography, DP, a role responsible for the visual language of the film. Friends and colleagues praise Halyna's talent, enthusiasm, and collaborative spirit, noting her excitement for the opportunity to work on a Western. The early days of pre-production and shooting are described as a typical fun yet challenging indie set marked by tight schedules and a constant struggle against the chaos of limited time and money. Safety concerns are introduced with the hiring of the armorer Halyna Gutierrez Reed, a young, relatively inexperienced professional whose hiring was tempered by the fact that her father was the renowned Hollywood armorer Thel Reed. A fellow actor expresses discomfort at seeing Gutierrez Reed carrying multiple guns unsafely at base camp. The actors, including Baldwin, underwent gun safety rehearsals. A significant shift in the set's atmosphere is noted upon Alec Baldwin's arrival. His star power and producer title created an intimidating presence, speeding up the pace and bringing a tonal change to the set, exacerbating the time-money crunch. This pressure is highlighted by a walkout of the camera crew on the day of the shooting. The crew felt disrespected and unheard by the production, particularly regarding working conditions and safety. Halyna, though hurt and disappointed by the walkout, quickly pivoted to cover the roles, showing her dedication. The film details the moments leading up to the tragedy. After lunch, the crew returned to set up a shot with Baldwin in a church pew. Because of the crew walkout, the video village, the tent with monitors where the director and DP typically view the shot from a safe distance, was unavailable. Consequently, Halyna and Joel Souza were positioned directly in front of the camera to judge the shot. Armorer Halyna Gutierrez Reed and first assistant director Dave Halls performed a gun check, which Baldwin was involved in. Both Halls and Baldwin state they saw what appeared to be dummy rounds in the gun. Baldwin describes rehearsing a tight shot of him drawing the gun when, upon cocking the hammer, the gun fired, causing a loud sound and smoke. The immediate aftermath is described by those present, who initially thought it was a powerful blank or a squib, a pyrotechnic charge used to simulate a bullet impact. However, the realization that Halyna and Joel had been shot quickly dawned on them. Souza recounts the feeling of being hit and locking eyes with Halyna, who said she couldn't feel her legs. Police arrived to secure the chaotic crime scene, finding the gun and ammunition box. Interviews with Alec Baldwin and Halyna Gutierrez Reed reveal their confusion and shock. Baldwin, insisting there was no plan of firing and that the gun was loaded with 5 dummy rounds, is horrified when a detective shows him the retrieved object, a live bullet surgically removed from Joel Souza's shoulder. The shocking truth is confirmed: a live round was in the prop gun. Baldwin, distraught, struggles to comprehend how a live round could be on a film set, stating, "This is the most horrifying thing I've ever heard in my life." The film concludes with the profound unanswered question of how the live round got into the gun and the devastating consequences of that failure of safety protocol. The documentary, which investigates the fatal shooting of cinematographer Halyna Hutchins on the set of the film Rust, delves into the catastrophic blend of human error, systemic negligence, and commercial pressure that led to the tragedy. The initial shock of the shooting, where actor Alec Baldwin fired a live round injuring director Joel Souza and killing Hutchins, quickly gives way to a horrified realization: live ammunition should never have been on a film set. Investigators, including the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office, immediately focus on the 3 key individuals: Alec Baldwin, the actor who fired the gun; Halyna Gutierrez Reed, the armorer responsible for the weapons; and Dave Halls, the first assistant director and safety coordinator. A major theme explored is the toxic set culture driven by budget constraints and a rushed schedule. Crew members describe a set where corners were cut, exemplified by the hiring of the young and inexperienced Halyna Gutierrez Reed, who was juggling the critical role of armorer with a second job as a prop assistant. She expressed concerns about not having enough time and resources for proper gun maintenance and actor training, and was reportedly told by producers that she was spending too much time on firearms tasks. This led to a pattern of safety failures. The documentary highlights a series of negligent discharges that occurred before the fatal shooting. A former camera assistant, Lane Looper, who resigned the day before the incident over safety concerns, recounts 2 separate misfires, one where a firearm went off in a stunt double's hand. These events, which should have triggered an immediate production halt and safety review, were reportedly dismissed by production, demonstrating plain indifference and a dangerous prioritization of the schedule over safety. The narrative intensifies with the revelation that the core investigation initially missed a key fact. Multiple live rounds were found floating around the set in various locations, including on Alec Baldwin's prop belt and on a utility cart. This crucial discovery that the shooting was not an isolated mistake but the result of a widespread systemic failure to keep real ammunition off the set is described as flabbergasting by those involved. The film then addresses the legal and moral accountability. Armorer Hannah Gutierrez-Reed is scrutinized for failing in her primary duty to prevent live rounds from mixing with inert dummy rounds and for lax gun handling protocols. First AD Dave Halls admits his negligence in failing to perform a thorough inspection of the gun, stating he only saw 3 of the rounds and missed being the last line of defense. Halls ultimately pleaded guilty to negligent use of a deadly weapon. Alec Baldwin's role is also examined. While he maintains he was rehearsing a shot and didn't intend to fire, legal experts and crew members debate his responsibility, particularly the violation of the cardinal rule: never point a gun at somebody unless you intend to shoot them. The irony is noted that Halyna Hutchins was instructing him on where to point the camera and the gun for the shot. Baldwin maintains that the idea that the person holding the gun is not responsible is absurd and defends himself by saying he was relying on the professionals, the armorer and the first AD, to ensure the gun was safe. The emotional and personal toll is immense. Joel Souza recounts his devastation, feeling like the world was tipped into a blender of chaos and disbelief. The media frenzy, with reporters following and harassing family members, is portrayed as an ugly, sensationalized narrative that overshadowed Halyna Hutchins' identity as a gifted artist and filmmaker. The documentary concludes by emphasizing her legacy, noting her passion for her craft and her dedication to making art despite the industry's often chaotic conditions. The multiple failures and the subsequent criminal charges levied against Gutierrez-Reed and Baldwin underscore the core message: the tragic accident was a preventable outcome of a profound and fatal disregard for safety standards across multiple levels of production management. The latter half of the documentary delves into the aftermath of the fatal shooting on the set of Rust, focusing on the legal proceedings, the emotional toll, and the decision to complete the film. The investigation quickly zeroed in on Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, the armorer, establishing that her primary failure was loading a live round into Alec Baldwin's gun. The prosecution's case rested on circumstantial evidence suggesting she brought the live ammunition onto the set, a claim she had denied. The sheer recklessness of multiple live rounds being found scattered across the set was presented as proof of her involuntary manslaughter. Following a trial, the jury found Gutierrez-Reed guilty of involuntary manslaughter, leading to her eventual sentencing of 18 months in prison. For many involved, the verdict brought no sense of victory, only a painful awareness that jail time wouldn't restore their lost friend. The focus then shifted to Alec Baldwin's own criminal trial, where he faced a similar involuntary manslaughter charge. Baldwin maintained his innocence, arguing that it was not the actor's job to ensure a prop gun didn't contain live rounds, but the job of the professionals hired for that specific task. The trial was marked by high tension and a dramatic turn when Baldwin's defense team successfully argued that the late discovery of a key piece of ammunition evidence by the prosecution impeded the defense's ability to prepare. Citing a lack of fundamental fairness, the judge granted a motion to dismiss with prejudice, effectively ending the prosecution against Baldwin, a decision met with disagreement from the prosecution but relief from Baldwin and many of his colleagues. Despite the legal and public turmoil, the film documents the resumption of filming for Rust. This decision was controversial, but it was driven by the wishes of Halyna Hutchins' husband Matthew Hutchins and her family, who wanted her work to be completed and seen. The director Joel Souza returned to the set along with other crew members to finish the movie as a tribute to Halyna's vision. The resumed production operated under an atmosphere of hyper-vigilance and heightened safety protocols. All functional firearms were replaced with non-firing replicas. A new armorer and safety specialists were brought in to ensure absolute safety, aiming to make every crew member feel comfortable. The documentary concludes by celebrating Halyna Hutchins' artistry and vision. Friends and colleagues speak of her dedication to cinematography, her distinctive visual style with stark contrast, and her determination to bring stories to life. The completion of Rust and its eventual screening is presented not as a final act of closure, which the documentary acknowledges life rarely provides, but as a commitment to honoring Halyna's passion, ensuring her final work is shared with the world, and preserving her legacy as a filmmaker. If you enjoy watching this video, then subscribe to Angel Recaps for the latest movies explanation.